Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Take Two Spotlight, your bi-weekly spinoff show here at Take Two Podcast in our Take Two universe. Thank you for joining. This is where Tony and myself, Brian, break down the life and career from birth all the way until today of an actor and actress, a filmmaker of some kind, and we are glad that you are joining us on this one. We've been trying to get this guy in, and finally we're squeezing him in. Tony, you might not know this. You centered it around a film that was dropping, but it's also his birthday next week.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
No, totally unintentional.
Yeah.
Totally unintentional. I put him in because of, obviously the release of Coming to America, and we had kind of moved him around. He was earlier in the schedule, but we wanted it to coincide with that. And I'm a big fan of this man, going way back to Delirious. Delirious was my jam, and I actually still have a VHS. I should go get it and bring it for the camera here. I still have the VHS of Delirious that I used to watch and wear out when I was younger. Probably way too young to be watching it, as it has 230 F words in it.
Really?
But I just will never forget, ice cream! Ice cream! I want some ice cream.
Oh, love it. We actually, I pulled that clip up for my daughter to watch. I was like, "You're gonna
the
love
ice cream
this one." Yeah, because she walked in when we were watching Coming to America last week. So I was like, "Oh, let me pull up on YouTube, pull up the ice cream," and he dropped like 7 F-bombs just in the ice cream skit. I was like, I forgot. There was so much. Just whatever.
Oh, yeah. It's bad.
But she was cracking up. The rest of it was hilarious. Just the whole ice cream bit, of course. No. All right, so folks, if you didn't pick up on it, we're covering Mr. Eddie Regan Murphy today. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hit us up on those socials at TT_Spotlight for Twitter. Take2Spotlight@gmail.com for our email. And then the show number is 434-602-1931. Tony said something that we've never said before on Spotlight. He said, I should show you for the video. That's because for the hell of it, we were like, you know what? Let's throw this one on the YouTube. So if you're a YouTube subscriber, you can watch us chit-chat about Eddie Murphy on YouTube. And neither of us combed our hair for this.
No, this is very last minute. It might be dirty behind me. As always, I'm in my kid's bedroom. Actually, Spotlight people, if you only listen to Spotlight, you wouldn't know that. When we do our video for the regular show, I record in my son's bedroom. That's how lame I am. So it may be dirty and riddled with kids' toys behind me, but just so you know. But yeah. Why not? Why not throw this? What is this, like episode 78 or some shit, right? Like we're getting up there. So why not do it for the first time after a couple years?
You're welcome, folks. We hope. And that brings up a good point. Do we have only Spotlight listeners out there? I've never thought of that.
Possibly. I mean, I just wonder with the separate Twitter feed, maybe that they only pick and choose those episodes to listen to. You never know. Sure. So if so, welcome. And if you don't know about our regular show, jump on over and check out those episodes as well.
Are you ready to rock, brother?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sadly, folks, there's not a whole lot to Eddie Murphy. Sometimes we get these folks that grow up and they live these crazy lives. They were bodybuilders, they were politicians, they were something, and then they become an actor. Nope. This gentleman wanted to be a comedian from day one. Day one was April 3rd, 1961. As said, he is currently 59, but for some of you, by the time you listen to this, he might be 60. So happy birthday, Eddie. Born in Brooklyn, New York. His mother was Lillian. She was a telephone operator, and then his father was Charles. Charles died in 1969 when Eddie was 8. He was a police officer. He left. They split up. They divorced. We're back on that train again of our actors having divorced parents when Eddie was 3. They divorced when they were 3. He moved out. Eddie says he has vague memories, but he's pretty sure the reason his dad died, well, he knows for a fact that he was stabbed by a woman. But they think it's a lover's scorn, like if I can't have you, no one can type deal. So lady stabbed us to death.
Wow.
Charles.
That's crazy.
Yeah, never knew it. He also has an older brother, Charles Jr., that he grew up with. For a while, his mom got real sick.
And Charles passed away, I was going to say, too. Remember?
The brother.
Back.
Yeah.
He was pretty popular and kind of rode his coattails, and maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Sure. So the single mom was raising both the kids by themselves, but then she got sick for a little while, and the kids both went to foster care for a year. And Eddie credits like expanding his horizon a little bit to living with all those different, kids, different cultures or whatever in the foster care. He does credit some of his comedy to living there for a year. Mom gets better. She remarries with another gentleman. They move out to Roosevelt, New York, just outside the city, and that's kind of where Eddie grew up. At age 15, he hears Richard Pryor's album for the first time, and we're done. It's over. I know what I want to do in life, and I don't blame the man.
And how cool is that? I mean, I was going to wait and talk about it later, but that he ends up working with him later. Like, that's got to be the ultimate pinnacle of your career, to be able to work with. And I'm sure other actors have done it as well, and we maybe haven't touched on it or whatever. Here or there we do, but that's awesome when you can be inspired by someone to go a career route path, and then you get to work with them. And actually, he wrote his role specifically for him and everything. So, yeah amazing.
Yeah. So very cool. So at that point, at age 15, he starts working clubs. He starts working on his material, literally going to nightclubs and doing stand-up as a 15-year-old. But he's good, so they keep him around. At age 19, he gets an offer for the Not Ready for Prime Time Yet players on Saturday Night Live. So these are the folks that are kind of, for folks who don't know SNL very well, you have your writers, you have your people that you have on screen that you see every week, but then there's like another group of actors and comedians that are kind of in between. They help write, but then they're there to back up and fill in,
and
that's
they
kind
might
of
show up every once in a while on screen.
Exactly.
And I was going to say, just backing off what you were talking about with the comedy stuff, I think also Eddie's career has inspired so many others since him. Like, I know Dave Chappelle followed a similar path, doing stand-up so early. He just went to it at a young age, thinking that was the way to do it because Eddie did it. So his inspiration gave us Dave Chappelle in a way, and what Eddie did with his life. So thank you for that, Eddie.
Sure. And then Chappelle would get to work with Eddie a little later on,
There you go.
Yeah. So at this point, so Eddie starts jumping on SNL. Now, fun SNL fact, he is the only current cast member to host while they are a cast member.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
Nick Nolte called in sick one day, and they needed someone to host that night, and so Eddie Murphy took over. And so
was it while he was promoting 48 Hours, which was with Eddie Murphy, anyways?
Would have been crazy.
So that makes sense. I mean,
it would have. It would have been perfect.
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of people think Steve Martin, maybe when you say that, but Steve Martin was never part of the cast. He just hosted so many times that people thought he was part of the cast.
True. So then he does a couple of comedy specials you may have heard of in the past. 1983 drops Delirious, filmed in Washington, D.C., baby.
Yeah.
Follows that up. Its humongous success was so huge that he wound up following that up in 1987 with Raw, which they filmed and released theatrically.
Oh, wow. See, I didn't realize that. Yeah, and I like I said, I loved Delirious growing up. I watched it a ton. I mean, obviously when I was later in life, but just he exudes cool. You know what I mean? In those things, the red leather, because I prefer Delirious over Raw. I know some people are the other way, like Raw better. They're basically the same kind of thing, but for whatever reason, Delirious, like the comedy, and it sticks with me more. But when we were doing this research, I'm like, he was 22 filming Delirious? That's insane to me. And being on SNL at the time, like, what a dream that he was living at that age. Could you imagine?
Incredible. So the ladies, he was married to Nicole Mitchell from 1993 to 2006. He already had another child with a young lady from before that. He and Nicole rock out 5 kids. All in all, Eddie is sitting on 10 children at this moment.
Yeah. I remember that a couple years ago when he had the 10th, and we were like, I think we talked about it on our regular show, and we were like, holy crap, because he was in his 50s and he's having his 10th child, And at least one has now shared the screen with him as well, just recently in Coming to America. So that's awesome that he's kind of getting that experience now, too. You live long enough to have your kids kind of join you in the art. That's cool.
Broke up with Michelle, then he dated Mel B from 2006 to 07. I mean, hey, he's got a Spice Girl on his list.
Yeah. Did they have kids?
A baby. They do have a baby.
Okay, I was going to say, I thought they had a kid.
Just for posture's sake, assume every woman I mentioned has a baby with Eddie going forward.
Tracy must have quite the swinging dick there, Mr. Murphy.
Tracy Edmonds, 2008, he dated her, and then currently is with Paige Butcher, and they've been together since 2012, actually. So this is running on his longest relationship. You assume in his advanced age that it would stick, but we've talked about other spotlighters in the past that 60, 70, they're getting new spouses. So who knows?
Sure. But I feel like that's a common theme though, where you see that later in life, and then they do end up staying with them longer, even though there may be an age gap or whatever. It's like they just get to a certain age where maybe they are kind of done with the runaround or whatever.
Sure. Awards. He is currently the 5th highest grossing actor in the world.
Wow, that's impressive. I mean, because most of that probably comes from 80s movies that were big comedies. People don't realize how much money something like Beverly Hills Cop or whatever made, or Coming to America, the original. So that's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if those movies were released now for today's dollars. I got to assume Shrek has a big to-do there.
Oh, true. I was going to say he doesn't really have any franchises, but I forgot about that. So, yeah, that does add in there. Yep.
Yeah. He got his Hollywood star on the Walk of Fame on June 26, 1996, quite a while ago. Good for
Yeah.
him. He was the 2015 Mark Twain recipient for Humanitarian Award for Humor.
We should start
Uh,
keeping track of that because I know we've covered a couple people that have had that now. Robin Williams as well, a couple
that's
other
true.
people. So
That's true. Oscars, one nomination, Dreamgirls. He lost out to Norbert. We'll talk about
got
that later.
well, he got snubbed on that one, anyways, in my opinion. So yeah,
Correct.
we
Yeah.
we can talk about that later because the person he lost to, I was like, it was kind of like more like a makeup award
True, and as I was joking, he lost because of himself. But
because of Norbit. Yeah,
we'll cover that later.
sure.
Golden Globes, he has 6 Golden Globe nominations. Emmys, he has 1 win, and that was for his most recent hosting job on
Yeah,
SNL back
that's
in
amazing.
2020.
Yeah, just last year. Yeah.
Because honestly, it wasn't his best hosting job, but either way.
No, but hey, cool. I think it was more just
Yeah,
hey, you've had a great career.
right. It was a deserved win. 4 other nominations on top of that. He does have 1 BAFTA, the only BAFTA for voiceover work, to get a
Okay.
nomination as supporting actor, the only
For
supporting
Donkey?
actor for voiceover for Donkey in Shrek,
Oh, okay, cool.
which
Yeah,
I thought that was
it's
wild.
a great role. It's a great role. It's iconic.
Yeah,
And not many people have that iconic voice role, let alone 2, because a lot of people love Mushu from Mulan as well. So
sure.
for him to have 2 great, iconic voiceover roles, that's impressive.
Very true. He also, are you ready, pal? He
Sure.
will never be defeated. Never.
Razzies?
He has 14 nominations, 5 wins, and an additional Redeemer Razzie Award that they just gave him last year for
Oh,
Dolomite,
good.
saying,
Good.
"We've nominated you for being shitty so much. Here's a Redeemer Award for now being great."
Did he
And
go and
he,
get it?
you know what? I should have looked that up if he actually
He
did go and
probably
accept
didn't,
it.
but he should have.
And he was the 2010 recipient of Razzie of the Decade.
Wow.
Like
Yeah.
a decade for worst
Yeah.
actor of the decade. Now later in life, here's a fun thing. He legit took time off. He took 6 years off of acting, and he said a credit to that was he got so many of these damn Razzies. Like he was like, I can't make a good movie. I keep getting these Razzies. So he took some time off.
And it's a shame. We'll get to that when we get to his filmography a little deeper. That he does have a bad run there for a while. And I know there were movies that I just purposefully did not watch and still won't watch to this day because I'm
Sure.
like, this looks terrible, whatever. But that's why we want to come around to him now is because with Dolomite is My Name and Coming to America, hopefully we're getting back the Eddie we miss, and maybe he'll make some more movies like this for the next couple of years and redeem himself.
Agreed all around. All right, you want a couple of almost famous roles he
Yeah,
almost grabbed?
give it to me.
Roger Rabbit. He was originally
Was it
set
Bob
the
Hoskins?
Hoskins. Yeah, that came across his table. He turned it down, and then they went on to Hoskins. I think that worked out well for them.
It did, but it could have been fun to see something like that, to see him working with that hybrid, animation live action thing.
He turned down Ghostbusters, and that role was written for him.
Yeah, I knew about that,
Mm.
and that's a shame. I would love to see that as well.
He lost out to Lawrence Fishburne in Boys in the Hood.
Ooh, wow. I mean, Fishburne kills that role, so
Yeah.
I I would have been interested to see Eddie do dramatic that much earlier in his career because he really didn't at that point.
Sure, sure. So far, like each of these is like Eddie has just a different energy. So like that character, even if he's going dramatic, it's still a different
Yeah, because
energy he brings.
I'm assuming he would have been Winston for Ghostbusters, and
Yeah,
Winston's much more subtle and laid back. Yeah,
very
so it would
much.
have
Yeah.
changed the whole dynamic of the team. You're right. So
Yeah, like Winston, I always remember him and Aykroyd in the car smoking the cigarette, driving across the bridge, like that chill scene more
yeah,
than anything.
that
Put
could have
Murphy
been
on.
Eddie now. I feel like Eddie now maybe could pull that part off because he is a little
Sure.
more chill, especially with the new Coming to America. We talked about in our review how much more subtle and subdued he is now. So
They wanted him for Audrey 2 for Little Shop of Horrors originally, but it didn't work out.
okay, I mean I think it worked out what we got with Levi Stubbs.
Oh, sure. Early on, it was him and not Chris Tucker for Rush Hour. And
Ooh, I would have liked
apparently,
that.
yeah, apparently, like way early on, he turned it down. And then really early on, super early on, this I almost don't believe, but I double checked it. Bad Boys was for him and Wesley Snipes.
Okay, now I would have liked that too because we just talked in our review for Coming to America how much I like their energy in the
Yep.
last 2 movies together and how I wish we would have got that in the 80s, 90s during both of their kind of high runs. I would have loved to see them together.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, would he have been the Martin Lawrence role?
yeah, I guess,
Because
because
Snipes
back
was
then
more
Wesley would have
actiony,
been more the badass kind of guy.
more the
Yeah,
Will Smith role, right?
yeah, yeah,
Make
makes
it
sense.
now. Make that movie
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Call
I
it
don't
something
care.
else. I'm all right
Bad
with it.
grandpas.
All right, there you go, folks. Again, hit us up on all the socials. Let us know your thoughts on Eddie Murphy and his life leading up to this point. We are now about to break down his filmography. Only 71 credits in here, and some of these are like video shorts and stuff, so we will glaze over those. But we want you to call us out if we miss some things that you love or don't love and we chat about. But not a bad way to lead off here in 1982 with 48 Hours.
Not at all. I was going to say that's a great debut film. I haven't seen this thing in years, so I went back and kind of watched some clips just to refresh my memory on it a little bit, and I was taken aback by early 80s comedy and how much they get away with as far as like racial stuff, like N-words galore in this movie, like stuff that's in this movie would not fly today. But there are some very iconic moments in that movie, and part of the racial stuff really was what made his career at that early stage, doing these roles like this, that 48 Hours, the Beverly Hills Cop. The race stuff was played into the comedy to make it work, and I think he did a great job with it. And, you know, I'm just thinking of like the racist, like the redneck bar sequence in the movie, like classic stuff in there. So
1983, Trading Places.
I think Trading Places, if you ask a lot of people, that would be like their favorite. I know a lot of people that really love that movie.
Yeah, that's valid.
And I thought it was funny that they did like a little callback. We didn't talk about it in our review, but they did a little callback in Coming to America to Trading Places. Remember? Like Colin Jost's business that he owns is like their business. Like he's the one who took a
Totally didn't even pick up on it. No kidding.
Yeah, they got the picture in the office of the guys from Trading Places, and that's what Colin Jost is supposed to be like their descendant.
No,
interviewing now Eddie's kid and Coming to America. Yeah, so
no kidding. Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Let's see. Best of the Big Laugh Off video comedy special there, 1984. Best Defense.
I don't know what that is. I'm just now looking at it for the first time. Him and Dudley Moore.
What?
Yeah, I don't even remember this being a thing.
For you Patreon subscribers and folks, patreon.com, take 2 podcasts. It's as low as $1 a month. We would love to have you. We have a ton of bonus stuff. We give you at least 2 episodes a month right now. You will not be disappointed. We have guest hosts. We have Tony, myself, a whole bunch of great stuff on there, merchandise and shout-outs. Coming up, you are going to get a best songs from the 80s movies, music from the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
And on that, boom, 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 boom,
yes,
boom, boom,
yes.
boom. You might hear that song mentioned in that episode because Beverly Hills Cop, 1984, baby.
You definitely will. At the very least, an honorable mention or whatever. But that song especially is, I mean, I watched some clips. Again, it's been a while since I've actually watched the movie, so I went back, watched some clips. It's in so many scenes. It's just like intertwined into the makings of that movie throughout, and it really does help you like get going. You really enjoy it every time you hear it. It still doesn't get old, 30, 40 years later. So it's an iconic character. I never really got into like all the sequels and cared that much about the sequels. Maybe I know they've talked about rehashing this one, and maybe that will be one of the next projects he does as a new Beverly Hills Cop. I know that's been discussed. That could be fun. It could be fun to see him revisit it, but this is cool, man, because this is also him getting into like the action stuff a little bit more, like the action comedy. He really walks that line for a couple years and does it so well. Nobody else is really doing it at this point. I just remember the bananas and the tailpipe, like that classic scene. There's a lot of good stuff in here, so I love Beverly Hills Cop.
And forgive me, we already mentioned it, but 1983 was when Delirious was dropped. So he's on the scene. Like he's an SNL huge cast member at this point. Delirious drops, boom, 48 Hours, Beverly Hills Cop. He's a mega star, early 80s, like automatically, boom. All right, 1986, I have not seen The Golden Child.
Yeah, and you know what? Craig is probably yelling at his podcasting device right now because he probably loves this one. This just seems like something Craig loved as a kid. I've never seen it either. So I went through and did a lot of times you can find these clips on YouTube where they break down the movie and they'll show you like 10 to 12 clips of the movie that are all like two minutes long or so. So you're getting like a half-hour version of the movie.
Oh, okay.
So I watched this in that like condensed form, and I get it. It kind of reminds me of Big Trouble in Little China, like the Eddie Murphy version of like Big Trouble in Little China in a way. Like it's got some sci-fi fantasy kind of elements to it that were kind of fun. So it's a little something different for him. And I know people like it. I just have never checked it out. I missed it when I was a kid and never came back around. So
1987 creates his first franchise by doing a sequel to Beverly Hills Cop, and this Beverly Hills Cop 2. I remember enjoying 2, as you just mentioned. I can't for the life of me think of plot lines going forward after that, though.
No, I don't remember. Yeah, it's almost hard for me to differentiate which ones are 1, 2, and 3 because I'm sure I've seen them all, but I
Yeah.
don't know. I definitely remember really liking the first, and maybe there was some kind of diminishing returns as they went on. But just quickly to mention too, I think it's cool. We do this a lot with our more dramatic actors, but the different directors he's worked with at this
Oh,
point.
right.
Walter,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know, he starts with Walter Hill, then he works with John Landis, then Martin Brest of Beverly Hills Cop. Now Tony Scott takes over for Beverly Hills Cop 2. So he's working with a lot of cool directors at this point too, and you can just see his star rising.
Sure. Sure. In 1988, finally, the royal penis is clean. Coming to America.
Yeah, and working with John Landis again.
Mm.
This movie is, for me, the best of his 80s output, just because the amount of all the different characters, all that stuff, like he finally gets to break out of that mold and go that route. He hadn't really done it to this extent yet. So he gets to be his crazy, zany self that we got to know on SNL.
Mm.
And it just seemed like he got free reign to do whatever he wanted in this movie. And it was a lot of fun, man. I love this movie. I think it still holds up today.
While doing those zany characters, then his centered character is, more subdued and more regular. So he's kind of giving you a bit of all of his talents for the first of many times going forward here. There's some video shorts for Coming to America. TV special, What's Alan Watching?
Okay. Yeah, I don't know about that one. I was going to say also with Coming to America, though, Coming to America and Beverly Hills Cop 2 is when he starts contributing to the story and getting credit as a writer as well. And that will add into his next credit on our the filmography. So
89, Harlem Nights.
Yeah. So Harlem Nights, he co-wrote that with his brother, Charlie.
Nice.
And he puts Charlie in the movie. And that's the first time Charlie did any acting. So he kind of started Charlie's career of like getting known from co-writing and starring in this movie with him. And this is where he creates the role for Richard Pryor, and he has Red Fox in here. Like, this is really like an all-star cast of who's who comedy at the time. I think this movie should be revisited because I watched some clips just to refresh my memory, and I thought it was pretty cool. Like the 19 kind of 30s jazz club era, like it's a cool feel to the movie, and I think they're all good in it. But if you look it up, it's got like a 20-something% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, really?
I'm like, why the hate for this movie? I don't know. And I think this is the first time, or not the first time, but he continues working with Arsenio Hall as well, and they work together a ton. So Coming to America, Harlem Nights, and then they continue working together a lot. So
yeah, all the way till 2021.
there you go.
1990, okay, another mild franchise. We at least sequel up 48 Hours with another 48. Fun fact, I think I saw this first. Before
Maybe just because
like
of
on
our
TV,
age.
Saturday afternoon or something.
Sure,
I feel I watched this one first. And then my dad was like, hang on, there's another one to watch first, but you're probably not old enough. What the hell? Let's watch them.
Yeah, and a lot of these movies at that time, the sequels were almost the exact same story. You know what I mean?
True.
Like, let's just do it again. Let's just have fun again. So, yeah, I don't really know which one was the difference between the two, but I do like the dichotomy of him and Nick Nolte and the way that they work together. So.
Remember the time when we fell
I'm glad you
in love.
mentioned that. Yeah. Was that this time? Was that 91, 92?
92,
Okay.
yeah. Michael Jackson's Remember the Time video, and he was playing the king.
Awesome. And in a way, I wonder, I mean, I'd love to see an interview about it. Like, did Michael Jackson approach him because he used to do like impressions of Michael Jackson or like in the stand-up and do the dances and things like that. I wonder if they had some go back and forth and some reverence for each other then that way, because that's kind of fun. But yeah, I remember that video being huge when we were kids. Huge.
1992, we're still in Boomerang.
I wrote this down as I think this is underrated. I think this is a decent rom-com of the early 90s, and this is kind of like his first real foray into that. Like, he hadn't really done a rom-com kind of thing before that. I think this is like your precursor to something like Hitch. Like, if you watch Hitch, that's what this reminds me of, is Boomerang. And just Eddie's character in that movie reminds me of Hitch. And I'm sure Will Smith was also inspired by Eddie Murphy to some extent. I think he inspired a lot of the next generation of actors. So I think that one should be revisited too, just like Harlem Nights. I think it's a decent movie. And I don't know that it gets enough credit, or, people know about it or have seen it enough.
Homework for me. I had actually
Boomerang?
never seen it. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd actually never seen it. And then I was
Do you
going
agree
on
with
the
my
cast list.
assessment then?
I fully agree with it. And the reason I was like, which one's homework should I do? Then I was like, wait, Eartha Kitt, Robin Givens, Halle Berry, David Allen Greer, Martin Lawrence. I was like, what? How have I never seen this cast?
How hot is Robin Givens in this movie? Robin Givens is so hot in this movie. The one scene where she like has sex with him and then just like leaves, and he's like, call me, like from the bed, and he's all like, I love that. She's so hot in this movie.
Loaded
and
cast.
A great soundtrack, right? Great soundtrack.
True. Very true. Yeah, I liked it. I enjoyed it. It was a good watch. And like you said, kind of revisit it. It's definitely early 90s film. But sticking with 1992, The Distinguished Gentleman.
Distinguished Gentleman, not a fan of. That I think I saw that when it came out back in the day, and I remember thinking like, oh, I guess everybody kind of has a miss. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
Did you remember this one or no?
I never saw.
Okay,
So
well,
that can
I
be
would steer clear. Yeah,
that'll be his one miss for his career.
sure. Now, before we move on any further, though, I do want to mention something else because I just remembered it when we were talking about Remember the Time and Boomerang having a great soundtrack. My girl wants to party all the time, party all the time, party all the time. We forgot about that. 1985, when he
That's right.
sang his own, his big hit, Party All the Time. I hope you can include that in the show maybe here somewhere because you definitely, usually we just talk about acting, but how crazy was it that he tried to be a singer?
That is valid. I'm
And
definitely
that
not
song is
putting
not
it
bad.
up.
It really isn't.
I agree with you 100%. Okay, here we are, 1994 now. There's some video shorts in here. 93 that he does some more stuff with Michael Jackson, more music video type things. But 94 we are Beverly Hills Cop 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
This,
Like I
this
said, I
time
don't I
he's
don't know.
Detective Axel Foley.
Oh, okay, good for
They
him.
changed the character listing. Yeah, sure. Again, he's listed in Michael Jackson's videography there in 95 and then 95 Vampire in Brooklyn.
Yeah, this is actually we talked about this on Wes Craven. This is an okay movie, I think, and I don't think it gets enough credit. I think it should be revisited, and this is another one where he kind of co-wrote it and helped produce it as well, so he was very into the production of it, and cool that he works with Wes Craven and just being different. He's got action, comedy, now he's got horror, he did some rom-coms, like he's starting to expand and do different things, and, sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't. I know this one's kind of like, but it's not bad. It's not bad.
So last week, folks, we reviewed For You Coming to America on our last show. When I was watching it with the wife, the daughter came in and she was getting in. The part that I loved the most about Coming to America was the nostalgia fest. I was like, he's playing that role. He's playing that role. Just kind of telling my daughter about it. So then I was like, well, I need to educate her on him playing the multiple roles. So we went back and watched Nutty Professor recently this week. 1996 is Nutty Professor. It holds, man. It still
Okay.
it holds. His performances hold. My daughter was loving it. She of course was loving the diner. The diner
Dining
table.
room scene, yeah.
Yeah,
Hercules.
the Hercules and the gas and all that. There definitely is a lot of sexual innuendo throughout the film.
Sure.
So I was like,
Sure.
you're only 12, but whatever. You just watched parts of Delirious, so whatever. Just roll with it. Welcome to Eddie Murphy.
No. Yeah, and I think this solidifies him now as a second decade of like greatness. This is another one where it's like, wow, he's got a huge hit on his hand. He's not just this early '80s guy. Now he's in the '90s and he's doing the kind of the same thing like you said as Coming to America with the multiple parts, and it worked, man. It's a really classic movie for a lot of people. It's probably maybe their favorite Eddie Murphy for a certain generation.
Sure. 1997 Metro.
I don't remember this movie, but I think this is like he's a cop again, right? I remember when it came out, but I never saw it. Yeah, Michael Rappaport, action comedy. I don't know. So, never saw it. What about you?
Same. As you mentioned before, a lot of folks, their voiceover work, though, when they think Eddie Murphy, think of Mushu, 1998's Milan.
Yeah, and I think that's a smart move by him, continuing to do some voiceover work later in his career too. And we talked about it earlier. It only gets better as he goes, but I think that's a smart move. And a lot of people do that later in their career. You see that as we do these spotlights. A lot of people have like, oh, they did voice work here or there, and it's a good cash grab. But he did an iconic role with Mushu up there with like Robin Williams for some people. Genie, like they want Mushu, and you saw the backlash on the new Mulan where it was like, where's Mushu? We want him, So
Sure. All right, so 1998, Dr. Dolittle.
That's another one, kind of with Nutty Professor, where kids of a certain age, people of a certain age, this is their Eddie Murphy. The '90s Eddie Murphy is Nutty Professor, Dr. Dolittle, which are both remakes of old movies,
Right.
and kind of redoing what those people did before him, So, but he found success and put his own little spin on it. So, yeah.
Still in '98, he wraps things up with Holy Man.
I don't even know what that is. Holy crap!
Oh, I remember it, but I know I haven't seen it.
I do remember it coming out, but I did not see it at all. No, Jeff Goldblum, isn't it? Oh. Okay.
1999, Life.
I like Life also. This is another one I wrote down as underrated. I think this is really underrated. I don't know if enough people have seen it. Him and Martin Lawrence, where they get locked up, and it's like back in the day where they're in the South, whatever. I really liked it. I thought it was cool. It actually did get a Oscar nomination for Best Makeup. So. Okay. They got that going for him. But, yeah, I like this movie quite a bit. And maybe I'm the only one. Reach out and let me know. Do you like Life? Did you ever see it?
No, I haven't. Now I kind of want to.
Yeah, so this was, I was going to say, a new decade now again. Now he's, or no, it's still 99. But he's getting, he's leading into the 2000s now, still riding high from like a second wave of popular comedies. So.
Yeah. I'll take your underrated life and I'll raise you with a, I feel, underrated Bowfinger.
I've heard that comparison or that argument a lot, and I was like, I don't remember really thinking Bowfinger was that funny. And then I went back and watched some of the clips, and I was like, it's not bad because he plays the two different roles,
Yeah.
and I think it works well. And
Yeah.
I'd almost say, Mike Myers probably owes something to Eddie Murphy after
Sure.
watching clips of Bowfinger. Like I
Sure.
could see Mike Myers being inspired by that and wanting to do this kind of stuff that Eddie did. And yeah, that's a decent one. Him and Steve Martin, directed by Yoda, so.
He only signed to do this because he wanted to work with Steve Martin.
Yeah, and I don't blame him. Oh, and Yoda. How could you not work with Yoda?
This is all valid. 2000 returns to Nutty Professor, Nutty Professor to the Clumps.
Yeah, probably some diminishing returns there. I think that one, if I remember right, went too far to like the gross out humor and like things like that, and like, oh, we're fat and we have farts and whatever.
Yeah. When scenes are hilarious and then you make just that scene an entire film, that's when you kind of lose certain things. Yes. I think that's what happened. Okay, but he's still alive. He's still a megastar because 2001, the gigantic hit film, still resonates today, Shrek.
So there you go. There's the new decade. So now 3 decades in a row, certified hits. Yes, it's just voiceover work, but that's Eddie. I don't care who you are. It's Eddie. You know what I mean? When you hear it. Yeah, it's classic, man. And I really liked the first Shrek quite a bit. They again kind of went down as they went on, maybe, but his character was great. He lends some singing talents to the movie as well. Gets in there and sings a little bit, And who doesn't know, in the morning, I'm making waffles. Like everybody knows that line, right?
Yep. That still gets repeated. I still do when he won't shut up in the back seat, and then which might be part 2 actually, but either way, and he just leans in and he's like gets right in his ears like. Just right in Shrek's ear. Still do that to my daughter because it's annoying, and so is his character. But he's fantastic at it. As we mentioned, the only person ever to get a BAFTA nomination for voiceover work,
which is impressive, especially not being a British citizen or anything like that. Like usually the BAFTAs kind of prefer those roles, those actors and stuff. So.
All right, 2001, Dr. Dolittle 2.
I don't even remember. I couldn't have told you that they made a part 2 because I don't remember it. I'm sure it was a thing, but I don't think I saw it. And I didn't realize how many sequels he did. So
yeah.
I mean, and maybe that's why he leads in the Razzies is because he did so many sequels. I'm sure that's where you get the nominations. It's like, oh, you're going back to the well again? Yeah.
True. Forgive me, but from 99 to 2001, he was doing the PJs, did 30 episodes.
That's right. I remember that being kind of popular. That's another voiceover work for him.
Yeah.
Cartoon there. Yeah. I never saw it. Not familiar with it, but I know it was kind of popular at the time.
Same. 2002, Showtime.
I remember, actually, I have this movie on DVD, or I did, because when I worked at Blockbuster, there you go, mark it off, folks. When I worked at Blockbuster at the time, we always had those sales on DVD. Like they would sell used DVDs, and I was like, oh, it's only like $3 for me to buy this with my employee discount or whatever. Why don't I get it? It was all right. Him and De Niro kind of playing off each other, straight man, whatever. This was another one of his nominations for a Razzie, so this one was not well received.
What is he here? 40? Yeah, 2002. He's about 40 years old. Yeah, I recall. All right, 2002, still The Adventures of Pluto Nash.
So this is where I think his career starts to take that turn. For the next 10 years, it's just rough, where there's a lot of failures in here. And I remember they wanted this movie to be huge. I think this was a big budget. It was advertised pretty well. They thought this was going to be a big deal, and it just failed epically. Let me see. Budget, $100 million.
Ooh.
Box office 7.1.
7?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It's considered one of the biggest box office bombs in history. So.
Have you seen it?
No, I never watched it. And this is one of those ones because, like I said, if I know it's that bad or that it did that bad, I usually stay away from it. So I was like, no, I can't do that to Eddie. I can't do that to my memory of what I like of him.
I want to watch it. You know who will watch it with me? I'll get Craig, the host of T3 Pod Network, to watch it with me.
Craig probably loves it. He probably
That's true. It's his favorite movie. He has Pluto Nash tattooed on his back. Love you, Craig. All right, 2002, I Spy.
I don't remember. Did I see this? Yes, I did. This is with him and Owen Wilson. I saw this. This is when they were trying to put Owen Wilson into everything. It was okay, but it wasn't horrible, or great. It was okay, whatever.
2003, Daddy Daycare.
Okay, I forgot he had Daddy Daycare in here. I know a lot of people do enjoy that movie, and it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So good for him. Now this is, he's continuing. Maybe he's getting better. He's getting some money back.
And maybe for you and I, this is, you and I are now in our early 20s. We don't have kids yet, so a lot of these films we're missing out on because he's really hitting that kid genre, and so our kids weren't born yet. So that's why a lot of these might be misses for you and I. But 2003, The Haunted Mansion.
And that's another one that was like a big failure. I remember I was interested in watching it just because of the Disney connection, but I don't think I ever saw it. It's considered a flop, but it doubled its budget, so
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll see.
just
But I
about
don't
it.
know. I think a lot of people, if I remember right, just didn't like it because it wasn't really the Haunted Mansion story. Like it was, but it wasn't. So
Yeah.
I think they would like to see a more actual take on the ride itself, and that's why it didn't do well.
Which I think they're doing. Aren't they redoing it now?
They're
So
supposed to,
it's
yeah,
in
yeah.
production. Sure.
Did you ever see it though? I mean,
Uh-uh.
can we speak to his performance? I don't know.
Nope. Sorry, too scary for
Okay.
me.
Yeah.
All right, 2004, Shrek 2. I really enjoy Shrek 2. You know, I think
Sure,
after that is
sure.
when they kind of go off the cliff. But Shreks 1 and 2 are great.
Yeah, yeah, and keeping it going, yeah. And this is the
Father.
break, right?
Oh,
He
sorry.
takes another break in there, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got a little break in here. He's got a few things, but his big year here coming up with the '04. He does what is this? Oh, Donkey does a couple of video things, but then 2006 is Dreamgirls.
Yeah, and I really truly do think he was snubbed. I think he should have won the Oscar here. He's finally doing like a dramatic role. He's showing off he can sing, he can dance, he's doing all that stuff. He's pulling it all together. And he lost to Alan Arkin in Little Miss Sunshine. Like, okay, but I think it's just because Alan Arkin was old and they were like, let's give it to him. He deserves it. But I really think he should have won that year. And I think if we went back and reassessed, his performance is better. And this is the perfect opportunity, really the only opportunity since then. There's been one more, but like he should have been rewarded for his dramatic role here. And I think, like you said earlier, Norbit is what killed it. Because Norbit was a huge failure, and it came out while the voting was fresh in everyone's in the minds, and they were like, we can't give this guy an Oscar if he's in this shit movie.
Right. 100%. Yep, 100%. All right. Shrek the Third comes out in 2007. Then we're on to 2008. Meet Dave. I don't know if I've heard of this movie.
Well, you went by Norbit pretty quickly.
Sorry, Norbit.
I never saw Norbit, but yes, it was an epic failure, and that, like we said, it kind of maybe cost him the Oscar. Meet Dave, I never saw. Never even. This is another one that I was like, "What are you doing, buddy?" Let's see, $60 million budget, made 50, so not great. Another failure for him. So that's a shame that and I think he's trying to do like more family friendly comedy, and maybe that's where he just isn't comfortable with that or doesn't belong there. I don't know. You know, after the success of Doolittle and Nutty Professor and then Daddy Daycare, it's like, oh, let me continue to go down this road. But some of these are just epic failures for him.
I wonder if the litany of kids he has was a factor here. You know,
Like he's doing it for them. Like, I want to make stuff that they can see.
7 kids at this point. He's probably thinking, oh, I should be making things my children should watch. I don't know.
Sure.
Or that Shrek money was rolling in and he was just trying to capitalize on that.
Could be.
Not mad either way. 2009, Imagine That.
I remember wanting to see this. I thought it looked okay, but I never did. Did you watch it? It looked similar to like Jim Carrey Liar Liar, where his daughter, like, I think she makes, or no, is that the different one? Is that the 1,000 words that I'm thinking of? Maybe it's 1,000 words that I'm thinking of.
She puts him in the imaginary world, right?
Okay, I never saw this one, but he makes a couple of these kind of, again, family friendly. I think this was like a Nickelodeon production, actually. So
Gotcha.
$55 million budget, 23. So again, he's having really bad returns at the box office with these movies.
2010 is all Shrek stuff. We got Shrek Forever After. There's Christmas Story. There's some episodic stuff in there. So he's just knocking out some Shrek voiceover work. Probably filmed all that in one day. Then 2011, Tower Heist.
I never saw Tower Heist. Did you?
Wasn't this a remake?
This is the one with what's his name? Ben Stiller. It was actually a loaded cast. Ben Stiller, Casey
Ratner
Affleck,
directed, right?
Yeah, Matthew Broderick. He had a bunch of people in here. Never saw it. I remember it coming out, but I think it also didn't do great or didn't have great, reviews. So I stayed away from it. But I don't know. Maybe it's okay. I don't know.
Here's that 1,000 words you were just bringing up there, 2012.
Yeah, and I think that one was the one where I was like, oh, that looks kind of cute. Like maybe he's getting back, but didn't do well. Again, $40 million budget, $22 million return. He's
credited as being in a lot of music videos, a couple of Shrek stuff, and then, Snoop Lion video from 2013.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think he actually sings with him in that, I think.
Does he really?
I think so, yeah. I think it's like a co-starring video. So.
Interesting. Gotcha. And
But
then
he took a couple of years off of acting, like 4 years again, right? It looked
oh
like.
yeah, I mean he's got the Shrek stuff, but you got to imagine some of that's kind of in the can, and then Thousand Words of Tower Heist. But honestly, from '09 till 2015, almost,
Yeah.
there's not a whole lot. 2013, there's a TV movie, Beverly Hills Cop. I'm wondering if they re-edited that for TV
Maybe, yeah.
and
And I know there was some
re-released.
discussion. Well, there was some discussion about doing a new, like a show version of Beverly Hills Cop, and that he was going to cameo in it, like passing on the torch. So maybe they filmed that, but it never got picked up or something. I don't know.
Oh no, I just picture Michael Che as
There you go. Yeah,
taking
he
over.
is kind of like an heir apparent, sure.
Yeah, I've never heard of 2016's Mr. Church.
I remember hearing of it and that it came out, but I never
Uh-huh.
saw it. It looked like he was trying to do the drama stuff again, like something like Dreamgirls. I don't think it was a very big hit. Let's see
Okay.
here. Tribeca Film Festival. So it was kind of like an indie movie almost, and him just doing something under the radar but dramatic. So
Gets that Redeemer Razzie for 2019's Dolomite Is My Name.
yes. Okay, so here you go. This is him getting it in just under the wire, but the 2010s now he has a hit. So every decade, 80s, 90s, 2000, 2010, he has a hit in every decade. So I love Dolomite Is My Name. I honestly think he should have been nominated for an Oscar for it. He was completely snubbed for this.
Yep.
Great performance. Yes, it wasn't truly dramatic, but I think he embodied Rudy Ray Moore. And if you have actually seen the original Dolomite or know anything about Rudy Ray Moore, he does such a good job
Yeah.
pulling off this role, and it has some heart to it. That's the thing. It has great comedy, and it is like an R-rated comedy, but he has some heart as the character Rudy Ray Moore, and I think it's great. And maybe not enough people saw it. If you
No.
haven't, go check it out. It's a Netflix movie. It's so good.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was late on it. You had reviewed it for the show, and then I didn't come around to it later and was hoping to get to it. And eventually I did. It was one of those where I was like, I'm mad I was so late on this. He's fantastic. For my argument, it's one of his best hits. It's his hit to cover the 2010s. It's in the range of his top fives of all of
Is.
them because he's
Yeah,
fantastic in it. And the movie's good.
sure. It is, yeah. And this is him working with Craig Brewer, and now they've started a new relationship where they were like, let's go do Coming to America next. And like, I love that they're kind of revitalizing his career together. And I think he's doing it in the right way. And now he's going to have, Coming to America has already been a hit for the 2020s now. So another decade, another hit.
Yeah.
And, for our tepid review on it, I guess, but a lot of people have liked it, and it's been a pretty big hit, I think. And they've already, I think, said they're working on a third one, possibly. So,
Oh, wow. Wow. So coming up, I mean, that brings us up to now Coming to America. He also did a comedy film festival that dropped in 2020. But in production right now is Triplets. That's the sequel to Twins with him and Schwarzenegger and DeVito.
oh
I'm in.
man, if they did that, it would. If you did it right, it could be so good, right? It could be so
Sure.
good. I would love to see it. And like I said earlier, I'd love to see if the Beverly Hills Cop, I think, is one that could be revisited as well in a fun way for now.
Sure.
I don't know about Trading Places. That would be cool to see if they got him and Aykroyd back to do Trading Places. That would be fun, like a new
Yeah.
Trading Places. And Jamie Lee ever in there topless again?
That'd be okay. Triplets would be good. I mean, they've got Josh Gad on for writing and Ivan Reitman in for directing, so it looks like that's going to be a go. And the Beverly Hills Cop 4 is announced. So
Yeah, with Brewer, right?
yeah, and I'd
I
love to
think
see
with
it.
Brewer directing. Yeah.
I'd love to see a torch passing there. To be honest with you, that could be cool. I don't recognize the directors though, but either way,
Oh, okay. Well,
Fallout,
either way,
Fallout.
yeah. Oh, those are the guys that did the latest Bad Boys movie.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
So that could be very good, especially if they kind of add something to the filmmaking quality of it. That could be really cool. Because Bad
Okay.
Boys for Life was actually really cool as far as the camera work and stuff. So
Sure. Yeah.
yeah, I'm all in on all this stuff, and I love the resurgence of Eddie. If we had said we were going to do this episode in 2018, it would have been like, what? Eddie Murphy? Like,
That's
nobody's
valid.
heard from him. He's had shit, tailing off of a shit career. But now that he's coming back with Dolomite and Coming to America and this new stuff on his docket, I'm totally looking forward to anything he's in on now.
Sure. I'd love to see him do another big dramatic role where he gets some
Yeah.
nomination love, really
I
gets
would
in there.
I would too.
Triplets and Cop 4 aren't going to do it, but something else where he's proven that he can do that. He just took, 15 years there of doing kid stuff.
Yeah.
People forgot that the guy's a fantastic actor.
And maybe a biopic or something. I know Jamie Foxx has had success there, whatever. Will Smith has had success there. What about the Richard Pryor movie that's been tossed around forever? He'd be great to play Richard Pryor, possibly, right?
Wouldn't that be nuts?
Why not? Why not
Yeah.
do it? Now that he's aged into it, he can play Richard Pryor, I think, and there's definitely some drama in his story. So I could see him doing that and maybe, pulling off that gold that we'd like to see him get eventually. That, or we say it almost every episode, now that Netflix and these kind of shows and HBO, like, get into a series like that, get into something dark and gritty and earn that love, because I would love to see that. Let him build over a season and have time to work his character.
Eddie Murphy, True Detective, Season 5.
Hey, why not, man? Why not?
Sure.
I wouldn't be opposed.
Folks, you let us know what you would be opposed to or what you are for with Eddie Regan Murphy. What would you love to see him in? What is your favorite role of his? What is your favorite character of his? What is some stuff that we just glazed over there? Like, oh, ho, ho, go back. You got to watch Mr. Church. It's fantastic. Let us know. At TT_Spotlight for Twitter. Take2Spotlight@gmail.com for the email. And then you can call us or leave a text message, 434-602-1931. Talk to us. How did you enjoy this Eddie Murphy Spotlight episode? What is our teaser for next time, pal?
Well, I was just looking at it. I was like, I kind of inadvertently set up like a redemption arc for 2 episodes in a row. Somebody who's had some kind of major failures later in his career, but maybe is on a resurgence. He's done some good work too, but he's also working his ass off and working nonstop. So there's some crap in there. So I'm pumped. If you listen to our show at all, he's one of my favorites. And it's going to be a fun episode for sure. But I have some homework to do because there's actually some really big blind spots for me that I need to catch up on. So it'll be a fun one. Yeah.
For Eddie Murphy, Take 2 Spotlight. Have a great night, everybody.
See you.